Hey everyone, and welcome to Vocal Flair, where we teach you everything about voiceover recording in the home studio. My name's Kyle Shevlin, and I've got another tutorial for you guys today. Today we're going to be teaching you about recording technique, and specifically two concepts that are important to every vocalist out there, and will be involved with every recording that you ever do. Now, I will admit right off the bat that this tutorial might seem a bit technical, but having an understanding of these two concepts really will affect the way you record, and especially affect the way that you EQ, compress, automate volume, and mix later on. So pay attention, hopefully you'll learn a few things. Now today we're going to be talking about the proximity effect and how the inverse square law affects volume. Now the proximity effect is pretty simple. The closer I get to a microphone, the more the bass frequencies are boosted. If you've ever heard, for those of you out there doing voiceovers perhaps for like movie trailers and want to get that big, deep, boomy voice, part of the way that those vocalists capture this is by getting really close to the microphone and accentuating those bass frequencies. So I wanted to give you guys an example of this, and I'm going to show you by, I've made 3 recordings here, each from different distances that you can see I've labeled on the left. And I'm going to pull up a spectrum EQ, and we're actually going to watch how the EQ spectrum changes the further away I get from the microphone. So I'm going to go to the mix window really quick, and I'm going to pull up the spectrum EQ right here for the vocal bus. I'm running them all through the same channel so we can watch them all at once. And going back to the sequencer window, we are going to just hit play, and I really want you to watch from 80 Hertz to 320 Hertz, and the differences in the bass response in this range. This is a recording from 4 inches away or 10 centimeters. This is a recording from 12 inches away or 30.5 centimeters. This is a recording from 36 inches away or 91.5 centimeters. So as you see, as I got further away from the microphone, the bass frequencies diminished quite a bit. And this is important to know because when we're creating a recording, especially as voiceovers, we want to capture a quality recording without making the EQ and the compression later on the process very difficult. And knowing how to utilize the proximity effect to our advantage can go a long way to this. If we know we need a big boomier voice, then it's important that we get a bit closer to the microphone and help our voice come out more full and resonant. But if we know that we don't need it to be quite so big, maybe it needs to sound a little more natural and less microphoned, we want to back up a few inches and attenuate some of those bass frequencies. Now the second concept is related to the inverse square law as it relates to volume. Now you might remember from physics about inverse relationships and things like that, and basically vocal recording involves a lot of physics. Sound is energy, and as energy travels, it hits the microphone, is converted from waveform into an electrical impulse that is then, converted and transformed, and we manipulate that to create the recordings we do. And so the basic law goes, the further away we get from the microphone, the less energy hits the diaphragm of the microphone. And this should make perfect sense. Energy dissipates, and thus less energy is available to compress and change the microphone to create signal. But what might not be obvious is how we can use this to our advantage. So one of the difficult things about recording is the simple fact that we don't tend to stay perfectly still as we record. And because of this fact, sometimes we can get some pretty drastic volume changes in our recordings. Think about it like this. If I'm only 2 inches away from the microphone as I get started, as I'm making a vocal take, and I accidentally or maybe even purposely move my head just another 2 inches away, I've now doubled my distance to the microphone, but I've decreased my volume quite a bit. And this can make compression, EQ, and volume automation later a real pain in the butt. Because think about it, If I've drastically changed the bass response because I've gotten further away due to the proximity effect, we're going to need to make some EQ automation. Or if the volume is cut in half because I've doubled my distance, then we're going to need to do volume automation. You can see how this adds a lot of work later on. So it's really important to back up from the microphone a few inches. And what this allows you to do is now if your head bobs or moves, you're only changing the distance to the microphone a much lower percentage. Think about it. If I move 2 inches when I'm already 12 inches away, that's 1/6 of the total distance as opposed to 100% of the total distance. So keep this in mind as you're doing recording, and you'll start to notice you get much more solid recordings without the boomy bass response and with more consistent volume. Check out how the proximity effect is different on a condenser or a dynamic mic, and try experimenting getting a little further from the mic or a little closer, or coming up with some way that'll help you stay the same distance from the microphone as you record. So hope these help you out, and we'll see you next time. All right, thanks.